My name is Lisa Shea, and this is part of the series on all things horror with horror authors, horror stories, horror poets, horror novels, and everything else. So in this particular one, we're going to talk about Pushed Aside, which is one of my short stories. It's 19 pages, 6122 words. If you haven't read it yet and want to read it first, then you should do that. And if you don't care, then that's fine. We're going to talk about all the details of the story, so there's going to be spoilers in this. So just be warned. So Pushed Aside. This is about a woman named Caroline, who's 35 years old, and she's a TV news anchor. And she's feeling, as we know, great pressure because women TV news anchors are supposed to be young and chirpy, and male TV news anchors are fine to be old and mature. So for some reason, women have very different standards that are applied on them. And this Caroline is feeling this already at age 35. So Penelope is one of her fellow co-workers, and Penelope is a younger woman, and Caroline feels that Penelope is sniffing around and trying to take over her job because those kinds of things are what happened. So Caroline's very upset about this. She tries to put on extra makeup so that she can still look young. And a bright-eyed blonde girl who looked barely out of high school pops up. And this is Becky, the new intern. So Caroline's really annoyed. Now there's even younger people here. And she's grumpy, and she makes a note of too much cream in this latte that she just gets. And the girl didn't even write it down, so Caroline knew that this is doomed to failure. But Caroline is in front of the TV screen, and she focuses wholly on giving her very best performance, because that's what matters. So Caroline's done with the news presentation. She's upset because Penelope's always making little jabs and jokes to try to take over the spotlight. And Matthew, who is the show director, comes over and tries to give her some advice about trying to go lighter on her makeup. And of course she's grumpy because she's feeling very pressed upon. And the blonde girl shows up and brings her an absolutely perfect cup of latte. And Caroline realizes that this is the intern, Becky. So she learns her name again. And she's happy that Becky's helping her, but it still reminds her that she's getting older, that there's someone this young that admires her that's walking around the office. So Caroline comes into the ready room the next day. Becky's sitting there, waiting, nice and quiet, holding a coffee cup. It's exactly the way she wants it. So Caroline is happy and that she's got this little intern that maybe she can mold into something useful to help her with her task. So again, she says her name is Becky. And Becky makes a comment that it seems that somehow Penelope's getting the interesting pieces, and that she got the piece on CRISPR, which is, I adore CRISPR, so I'm really like writing about these kinds of topics. And if you don't know, CRISPR is a system that can take DNA and chop it up and make it into different DNA. And while normally they take cells out of a person's body, do a whole bunch of growing the cells and chopping it up and putting back into the body, there are actually cases where they set CRISPR loose into someone's body, like if they have sickle cell disease or something like that. And the CRISPRs just run loose inside the body, make the changes on the person's DNA, and hopefully make them a better person. So it's an amazing new area for biology right now. So anyway, Penelope, the evil arch enemy, was going to do the talk on CRISPR. Becky, the intern, says, Caroline, you really should do this piece on CRISPR because I think it's going to really help you a lot. This is Zuzu. Zuzu the cat coming in to be oh so helpful. You are a good kitty. Yes. Oh, she's purring now. You're going to eat the, yes. She likes to eat the mouthpiece. Is that yummy? All right, you got to come sit over here so I can finish. All right, so Caroline says, what are you talking about? CRISPR stuff is boring. Becky says, no, really. The CRISPR stuff is fascinating. You could go get an exclusive about their research activities. They do groundbreaking work. I've got your contact. You can go talk with them. And Becky's all happy about it. So Caroline says, oh, all right. I will go and talk with them. So Caroline goes and talks with Dr. William Pike, who's the person in charge of this CRISPR startup. And she talks to him about what CRISPR is about. CRISPR does, it can fix the way that your eyes work and fix the way that your ears work, all these other kinds of things. And Caroline's actually enthralled by this. And she realizes that she could use CRISPR's techniques to make herself look younger. I mean, she could change her skin tone, she could change the brightness of her eyes, and all that kind of stuff. So she could use all of this cool CRISPR technique to make sure that she's able to stay as a news anchor, which she really loves doing, for as long as possible. So she decides that she's going to start really playing up this CRISPR company. And in return, the CRISPR company is going to give her lots of free medical treatments so that she's able to stay young and attractive looking. So then we fast forward to the future. Now suddenly the Emmy after party was everything Caroline could have possibly dreamed of. The sapphire dress alone cost her a cool $20,000, but what did it matter when BioSkin stock was soaring through the roof? So she'd done a whole series of glowing reports. She'd played up BioSkin, made them super profitable. And in return, we've got Diane Sawyer coming to praise her and Curry coming to praise her. So she's just feeling super happy. And Becky's there bringing her some Dom Perignon 1996, which is the young intern that got her in touch with the CRISPR people. So Caroline is now in the top of the world. She looks beautiful thanks to the CRISPR stuff. She knows that Penelope, her arch enemy, is watching jealously from home. And now she's even thinking about starting her own TV station. Yes, Kitty, you cannot eat the little microphone thing. Microphones are not for eating. Does it look like a snake? Does it look like a snake is attacking me? You are a good kitty to defend me, yes. All right, why don't you come sit over here for a second? Come over here. Yes, good, Zuzu. All right, so Caroline is super happy. Zuzu is intrigued by this all. All right, so now Caroline has re-signed at a higher salary. She's sitting and ready to give her Caroline's News Hour brief, and all of a sudden there's this high-pitched squealing noise in her ears, but no one else seems to hear it. So she's grumpy with everyone that they're playing tricks with her, and she goes stalking off to her office. But then when Caroline goes to talk to a hearing specialist, she says that the hearing seems to be fine, but that it's just that she's getting older. And then Becky says, well, maybe you're being sabotaged. I bought you a sound detector for the set. And Caroline realizes it hadn't even occurred to her that she could be sabotaged, and maybe Penelope's sabotaging her because she's getting all this great press. So she decides that she's going to get to the bottom of this, but right now she's got a news broadcast to do, and she starts her news broadcast, and all of a sudden now there's bright lights blinding her. And no one else sees the bright lights. So Matthew, the show director, asks if she's all right. She says that she's fine. And the eye specialist says that everything seems okay and that she's not finding anything. So now she wants to talk to the CRISPR people because she's sure that the CRISPR people must have screwed something up. The things are just coming and going in her senses. So the CRISPR person says that he will come home from a seminar that he's at and he will help her figure this out. So Caroline goes to give her next news report. Becky set up all sorts of little devices to look for bright lights or bright noises to try to help her figure out how Penelope is doing this to her. And Caroline starts trying to give her news report, and all of a sudden now there's super strong smells assaulting her, and she can't even give the report. And she's worried that Penelope is going to try to take over the report for her, and against everything else, she does not want Penelope being able to benefit from all of the stuff that's happening. So she asks Becky if she can give the report, and Becky says, yes, I'll do it for you. I know everything word for word. I'm all set. So Caroline says, Becky, please go and take this over for me because I need to get through this. So Caroline relaxes. Thank goodness that Becky was able to take over for her, and Penelope was not going to benefit from this. So now Caroline's entire face is sagging. She's got wrinkles, she's got liver spots, and the doctor says, well, we've been sending all sorts of CRISPRs through you, and we advised you not to send all these different CRISPRs at the same time, and you were convinced that this is what you wanted to do, and we can't even figure out what's happening to you at this point. So Caroline threatens him that she's just going to expose him for being a fraud, and he says, all right, I'll try to figure something out. So Caroline goes into the ready room trying to get ready. Becky's there soothing her and saying, all right, we'll get through this somehow. Everything will be fine. And then all of a sudden, Caroline collapses and she blinks awake and she's in a hospital room. And she's watching the TV screen and she sees that Becky is at the main desk. So Becky's in her seat now, and that she had a locket with the B and W entwined together. And Penelope smiles over at Becky and says, before you sign off, I wanted to say congratulations on your engagement. I'm sure you and Dr. Pike will be very happy together. You've known him for 10 years, And Becky says, we were high school sweethearts. It's a dream come true. All of this has been. So now Caroline realizes that Becky came on as her intern specifically to sabotage her, and Becky set her up to interview Dr. Pike and this CRISPR company specifically to get her hooked on him so that she would let him feed all these CRISPRs. And yes, the CRISPRs did a good job to start and made her have younger looking skin and all that kind of stuff. But the CRISPRs were deliberately made to be flawed so that the hearing would come and go, and that the eyesight would come and go, and the sense of smell would come and go, so that they could then drive her off the TV station and that Becky could be perfectly situated to take it over at the time with Caroline's blessing, because Caroline thought that it was Penelope that was sabotaging her. But in the end, of course, it was Becky who was sabotaging her. And now Caroline is stuck in a nursing home, and so much damage has been caused to her that she's not going to be able to accuse them or prove what happened to her. So Becky has gotten everything that she wanted. The CRISPR company is doing fantastically well and has tons of funding, and Caroline is stuck in her hospital room. So hopefully that was reasonably clear in terms of just reading the story and understanding what was happening. But hopefully if you were confused about what the sequence was events of my description of walking it through, it helped to clarify that sort of thing. So Becky's entire purpose from joining the team at the very beginning was to infiltrate herself in with Caroline, to convince Caroline to go talk to her fiancé/boyfriend and to get them to be able to start feeding CRISPRs into her body to aim towards the sabotage and taking her down so that Becky could take over her job. Sorry, I've got a furry black cat on my mouse pad area. Yes. All right, so ask if you have any other questions about this story, about how it's laid out. I love CRISPR stuff, so I definitely wanted to involve CRISPR in one of my stories. And I'm also troubled by the fact that we treasure models and actresses and news station people when they are young, in the 18 to 24-year-old period, and then we toss them aside, and then we bring in other young people. And even if someone is supposed to be a 30-year-old character, somehow it's 20-year-olds playing the 30-year-old character for women. But if it's a guy, it's okay if the guy is 80 years old and still playing an action hero. So definitely our society has some issues there. So be sure to like the video, to subscribe, to add any comments if you have any other questions. Let me know if you're working on similar kinds of stories. Let me know if there are other authors that I should interview or stories that I should read. Suzu's making goo-goo eyes at me right now. You are a very good kitty. Okay, we'll hold her up one last time. All right, here we go. All right, have a good evening, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.